Hi everyone, and welcome back to our channel Sharang and Sharvari. So as you guys see today, we are making a video where we both are in the same room at the same time. So I think that's a bit of a change rather from the conventional way that we make videos. Today we bring to the topic a very interesting one that too. But I must give a trigger warning before we start because this topic is a bit inclining to the dark side, I would say, or something that many people might find a bit disturbing to hear, or some details you're not comfortable with hearing. So I would want you guys to know that this has a trigger warning. And now, without any delay, I'll just get to the topic at hand. Today, we are going to talk about our experiences when we visited a Nazi concentration camp. In Sharon's case, I think you have been to two Nazi concentration camps, right?
Actually, three.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you have visited three Nazi concentration camps. I have visited one when I went to Europe in the year 2016. So that time we had gone to one. So we are going to share our experiences regarding that. Since I think Sharon, you are the person who has visited more concentration camps, you have a lot of experience to put on the table. So why don't you start with telling us about your experience?
Yeah, I would say what makes it my experience is a bit different from yours are two things. One is that I lived in Germany for around 6 years, and I speak German with a reasonable level of proficiency. So because of this, I could actually understand the cultural context of the Nazi movement and the Second World War and everything that followed. And I can tell you for a fact, guys, that to this day, Germans are still traumatized by what they witnessed and what happened to them and what they did in the Second World War, and we still live with its memory. And it has left deep, deep scars on the German psyche, and it's very apparent and obvious. Um, so I visited like multiple concentration camps. I can't remember the name of the third one, but I did visit Sachsenhausen and Dachau. So I really apologize to someone if I if I make some errors in some details, because it's been quite some time and it was a traumatic event. So I suppressed it and I tried not to think about it as much as possible. But I remember that I walked into the concentration camp, and maybe it was just in my mind or whatever, but it felt like the temperature dropped, and I saw these paintings on the walls, right? And these were paintings by the prisoners. So when the prisoners would come to these concentration camps, um, they would be forced to undress and stand in the cold for quote unquote inspection. Then the men would be separated from the women and children, and that's how they would be housed. And I think for those people who don't know, I think most people are aware, but concentration camps are those that the Nazi government in Germany, where whenever they deemed a person as undesirable or not having the correct, quote unquote, correct race, or being undesirable in some other ways, such as they would put them in concentration camps. The official or the stated purpose, hey, we just want to concentrate them, but then they later also turned them into death camps where they would put Jews to work in brutal conditions, and then they would gas them and just kill them like in a horrifying scale. And by most estimates, around 6 million Jews perished as a result of Nazi atrocities, and it was a horrible, horrible thing. And it was one of the things that led Jews to the conclusion that we need a country of our own, because they were oppressed in every single country they were oppressed in most countries that they were, either through pogroms or through expulsions, and or through targeted eradication. Along with it, there were also some gypsies, or today I think the politically correct word is wanderer or Romani people. So these were also put in concentration camps, as far as I know. And also sometimes the people accused of quote unquote crimes like homosexuality, they were put in concentration camps, sometimes communists. So anyone that the Nazi party felt was problematic for the purity of the German race. And so in these concentration camps, they would conduct all kinds of horrifying experiments on the poor prisoners. And I think you can find many videos exactly what they did. But one of the things that was most horrifying to me, even as a scientist, was the experiments on twins. They would take twins and they would give one twin poisons and things like that, and the other twin would be quote unquote controlled. So she would be given normal, she would not be given any poison, and they wanted to find out what happened. And it was so horrifying because like this is the worst thing, right? Because as a scientist, you can kind of technically follow the logic. Oh, this is what they did. This is the test. This is the control. And you're like, the way today scientists experiment on maybe mice, they were literally experimenting on human beings, and it was so horrific. And the thing that distinguished it from other atrocities, right? Let's say you see ISIS, and you think of ISIS or the other terrorists as these crazy fanatical savages who are just committing violence because they think they'll go to heaven and whatever, and you just think of them as stupid and as just deluded and murderous barbarians, something else. But when I saw the actions of these like Nazi camp guards or whatever, it was evil because it was cold, calculated evil. And I did not think that these people are stupid. I thought they're actually, I mean, intelligent might be the wrong word, but they know what they're doing, and that they're intelligent but in the wrong way or in a very very evil way, or they're using their intelligence and technical sophistication in a very horrible way. So and the point is what about the paintings, right? So there are paintings where there are certain vegetables and they are disrobing themselves. So essentially the only paintings that the Jewish people or prisoners were allowed to make are ones which were mocking their own suffering, right? And that's why the guards let them put these paintings. And it was so horrible that they are there, and those walls are full of death and murder, I would say. And I think with this rather depressing conclusion, and I think as a like I speak a little bit of German, so on one of the gates of the concentration camp was a phrase. It was Arbeit macht frei, which is German for work will set you free. And it is a how do I say? It is a bastardization of the phrase found in the Bible, because in the Bible there's a phrase that the truth will set you free. And the Germans, obviously, they were Christians themselves, so they knew, and they took it and they made it a dark joke. Then they said Arbeit macht frei, because work will set you free, and they put the Jews to work in these horrifying conditions where they knew they would die. And yeah, I just think that this was one of the most horrifying um, things that has happened to the Jewish people. And I think the Jews themselves, they say Am Yisrael Chai, which is Hebrew for the Jews live. And I'm so happy that they live. And I don't know if there are any Jewish people or Jews listening to us. And I just want to say that we're sorry for what happened to you, and hopefully it never happens again. And even today, Israel is facing an existential crisis. And I'm not going to get into politics. That's what Israel is doing. Hamas, Palestine, leave that aside. I want, as the Jewish people in the national anthem of Israel, there's a phrase. It's called "Lio tam chofshin be'artzenu eretz Sion Yerushalayim," which is at last we get to be a free race of people in the homeland of Jerusalem. So I'm happy for that Jewish people live, and I hope they continue to prosper. And with this, I hand it over to my dear fiance.
So thank you so much, Sharon. It was a very, I think you have been to 3 camps as you mentioned. So you've seen way more than I have. In my case, I think we have one camp that we've seen in common, and that was Sachsenhausen. So I think it was the year 2016. I'll just give a background.
Sure.
And I was with a group of study. It was like a study tour for German students, and we've gone there. And that was one thing on our itinerary. And everyone was kind of curious to see, okay, what exactly, because you read about all these things. I myself, when I was a little girl, I read The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. So I had an idea about what exactly a concentration camp is, but I had not seen it with my own eyes. So when I went there, I had the exact same experience as you. When we stepped into the Sachsenhausen concentration camp, I remember like the air actually turned cold. And there was, I mean, everything was just derelict and barren. And there was obviously nothing there since all these camps are now not in use. But even when the guide was just telling us things, like I couldn't help but my mind was so distracted. Because the only thing that was going through my head was what might be the level of suffering that the people who actually were standing on the place where I'm standing right now must have gone. So I reminded myself of one moment right now. There was like a clock tower, and I think there was a big ground in which you were made to stand serially. And if you could not, present yourself on time, you would be shot. So like the most basic of things would cause a punishment that would lead to death eventually. So the thought that came to my mind was, what would it be to live in fear every day? Or with the thought that tomorrow might be my last day here, you know? So it's such a big, thing when people actually came out of those concentration camps. Like I don't know the history that well, but I think they were rescued by uh, I think British forces.
I think
That's
it
right.
depends because Germany, right?
Right.
So the west part of Germany was liberated by the Allies,
Yeah,
and the
the
eastern part
Allies.
by the Russians. So
Correct,
like
yeah.
depending on whether the camps were in East Germany or West Germany,
Right.
they were
Yes.
liberated by the Soviet Union and the Allies respectively.
But they were rescued. So I remember there was a section for the gas chambers, and that is something that, I mean, I just cannot even think about it. It was so brutal, and I was the only person who had volunteered from my entire group who wanted to actually go and see that.
Yeah.
The reason being because I think curiosity, you've read so much about what happened. And then I just went inside a gas chamber, and it was so like the whole air was cold. It was icy cold. And then I again thought about the amount of people who might have lost their lives here. So I think in my case, it was, I was pretty young. I was like 16 or 17 at the time. So to go through that or to see that at that young age, it was very hard on me. I got a chance to see what evil can be, I suppose. So yeah, I think with this we can draw the video to a conclusion.
Actually, I actually wanted to add just like a horrifying piece of irony to because you mentioned gas chamber, right?
Yeah.
So you know the gas that was used in the concentration camps,
Yeah.
or in the gas chamber specifically. The inventor of this gas actually was a man named Fritz Haber, and he himself was a Jewish Jew. Yeah, and he actually got a Nobel Prize in chemistry because what he did was he found a way to make urea, which is a fertilizer, from nitrogen, right? And this paved the way for the use of fertilizer, which is why today crops can grow much better than before. But unfortunately, this process was also used to generate this toxic gas, and they used the gas that a Jewish man had invented or on his own people. So the horrifying irony of it is just it's too much to bear. And on this rather dark note, Hatikwa Batshmot Alpine, Liotam Hofshen Beatzenu Eretzion Yerushalayim. Thank you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let us know what you thought about this bit of an unusual topic. And so yeah, thank you guys for watching. As Sharon mentioned, I just want you to know that you can like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And also do recommend other videos you would like us to cover. We definitely read the comments, so we will go through them and then we will definitely try to make a video on them. So thanks guys, and I hope you take care of yourselves.